All right, good afternoon, and welcome to today's discussion on using no-code analytics to grow your bank. Of course, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, pop those in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. So there's a lot to cover. I'm going to just barrel through the highlights of the agenda here. We're going to start by laying the groundwork. Why analytics? Why now? Why is this an important moment for banks to be thinking about this? What kind of upstart is going to be necessary for an effective analytics strategy? What's the legwork you're going to have to do here? And then where's no-code CRM going to come into the picture with all of this? How is it going to help with your analytics strategy? And then what is the real world application of this going to look like? How can you actually strategize and execute what your analytic plan is with the no-code? So my name is Deneen Madura. I am the marketing director here at Technology Advisors. My co-host today is Megan Sheehan, our COO. I'm going to start off the presentation with a lot of information I'm going to throw at you, but I am recording this, so you can always go back and reference any of this if you like. Once I've done my portion, Megan's going to jump in at the end here and show us the practical applications of what this looks like in real life. So why analytics? Why now? Financial services organizations, much like many other types of institutions, were traditionally product-centric. But as the tech landscape has evolved, everybody has had to shift to this customer-centric approach. The future is continuing to tilt towards this data-driven customer experience. And so banks are faced with the challenge, right? They have to integrate this in-person interaction with the digital offerings and provide this seamless omni-channel experience. And that requires proactively embracing digital transformation and technology investments. Institutions that are doing that are having a much higher likelihood of improving their operational and financial performance, whereas those who aren't are risking falling behind. So what we're seeing in this data right here is that consumers are really digital first in how they're accessing their bank accounts. They're using mobile apps, they're using internet. Only 14% are going into branches. Hardly anyone's using an ATM or a telephone anymore. So there is this digital first approach. And the neobank, the digital only banks, all those competitors, the fintech startups, they are leveraging technology, they are leveraging analytics to understand these digital customer preferences. And that means that traditional institutions have to be doing that too. So Statista or Statista, I'm never going to know how to pronounce that. They asked industry executives what they thought the biggest trends impacting banking were this year. And there's two plot points here I want to initially discuss. First of all, the biggest worry is new technologies. One of those mentioned here is generative AI. I feel like generative AI is the new internet. Like it just happened overnight. It changed everything really quickly, and everybody's just running to catch up. So there's a lot of technologies that are affecting banking. There's the generative AI, there's cloud computing, there's IoT devices. There's all these things that these banking executives are now thinking about and worried about in terms of how they're going to compete. What ties into that, as we can see in the second point on this chart, is the changing customer behaviors and demands. And in close third, I don't want to underestimate this. I didn't put an arrow to it, but I think we need to call it out, is the third bar on that chart, which is the concern about regulation on digital and cloud technology. Regulatory bodies are going to be requiring banks to provide more detailed and accurate data and do it quickly, much faster than most banks are able to do right now. And so the banks are going to have to align their compliance and risk management with their digital operations and data to get that done. And that's going to require shifting away from this legacy way of doing things, these legacy systems, and embracing innovation holistically, not just for the compliance requirement, but really as a growth driver. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about how to grow your bank using analytics. That's part of it. So analytics has numerous use cases. Where are my graphics? There they are. These are just 6 of the ones that we felt were important and wanted to call out. First being risk mitigation. You cannot solely rely on historical data anymore. It's not enough. Things are evolving too quickly. Nefarious beings are shifting very quickly and able to adapt and change their ways of hacking things. And so there's just too much going on to look at that information. A really comprehensive risk mitigation strategy is going to be bringing in real-time data as well. It's going to be looking at social media behaviors, market trends, and then also the predictive analytics, looking to the future, behavioral analytics. What is a normal behavior for this person? Is this different from what they would normally do? Should that be a red flag for us? And of course, you still bring in the historical data, but there's so much more to consider. And the analytics are going to pull together all those data sources to help you get the view you need to understand what's going on with each of those customers. Speaking of insights, not only does understanding buyer behaviors give banks an advantage on really honing in on the products and services that customers are likely to want, but it's also going to provide a really unique business opportunity. Excuse me. So these behavioral patterns are probably of interest to other banks too. And some of those are probably institutions that would like to collaborate based on those insights to combine resources and create something that they know the bank can't do on their own. They know they can't do on their own, but together they could create a really unique product. And so that positions the institution to be able to offer something really special to their customers that not every other institution is going to be able to offer. And that's a differentiator. As we saw in the earlier slide, new technologies and a changing competitive landscape, those are big concerns, right? So fintechs are already utilizing analytics and data to innovate and deliver new products and services. So that means if you want to have any competitive advantage, you've got to get on board with the analytics. Customer attrition due to frustration and a lack of personalization is one of the biggest issues plaguing banks today. Forrester actually found that of banking customers who feel frustrated, only 21% plan to stay with the bank and spend more with it, and 13% will advocate for the bank. Intelligent analytics are going to help retain that customer lifetime value and build better experiences. The thing that blows me away here is, okay, 13% will advocate for the bank. That makes sense. If I'm annoyed, I'm not going to be like, hey guys, you should check out this bank. It's cool. No, I'm not going to do that. But so if 21% are going to stay with the bank, that means 80% are not going to stay with the bank because they're frustrated or feel like there's no personalization. That is shocking. So it's a little bit scary. And I have to tell you, I have a bank account that I opened in college and I barely use it. I don't really like it, but I'm too lazy to change it. So it exists and I put like $5 in it. One day, maybe I'll switch, but like, have I ever gotten so frustrated and annoyed with them that I go through that effort? No. I mean, they tried to sell me a mortgage loan 2 years after I bought a house, so they don't really have personalization, but I still wasn't like, yeah, you know what? I gotta go. So that's a terrifying statistic, that people are that quick to switch off based on frustration alone. Operational efficiency, that's going to be a long-term strategy rather than a quick fix. And it's really, really crucial for banking analytics to tie into that operational efficiency strategy, because what that's going to do is offer a solution to a lot of efficiency issues by identifying the weaknesses and identifying the cost-saving opportunities. So from there, you can gain strategic recommendations that are going to help your team work together, optimize processes through automation, and ultimately that's how you're going to drive that efficiency and lower your costs. And then, bringing personalization and customer lifetime value together is where the marketing piece comes in. So the analytics are going to reveal more strategic marketing segmentation opportunities to personalize and engage that customer base. Okay, so what do we need to think about in the lead up to our analytics strategy? The first thing we have to do is recognize that this is not a set it and forget it type of process. This is an iterative, continuous process where you're going to be refining constantly. You're going to be getting new data in, going to be new insights to look at, and feedback to consider. And all of that is going to better inform your analytics strategy. Part of that iteration, too, is broken down into different aspects of the analytics. So what's fueling it, which is your data. You're going to be using iteration to refine your data collection processes. And I'll get a little bit more into the data collection in a few minutes, but before you start this, part of that process is cleaning your data, making sure that's as accurate as possible. And even if you do that, though, some data might still be incomplete, it might have errors, and a lot of that's going to be revealed once you start running the analytics and seeing these weird outliers. And so you're going to be able to continually clean it up. But you have to refine that process and continue to clean it to ensure the accuracy of the analytic outcomes. In predictive analytics, models are built and tested iteratively. That's just how predictive analytics works. So each iteration is going to involve refining the business model based on its performance and incorporating new data to improve the accuracy. Businesses are fluid, and so their objectives and requirements are going to change, and they're going to affect the analytics approach. So when it's iterative, you can be more flexible, can adapt to these changes, and ensure that the analysis remains aligned with the organizational goals. And then iterating for continuous improvement, you're iterating on the analyses to uncover new insights and improve the accuracy of the predictions over time to lead to better decision making. So the iterations are so important, and it's something you just have to be prepared for to tackle as a team when you start doing your analytics. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what SMART goals are, but if you don't, I put a cute little diagram in the corner there. They are goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We need SMART goals when we're making an analytics strategy because we need to be able to measure the effectiveness of our strategy. So it's one thing to say, I want to make online banking better. That's cool, but what does that mean in practice? What should that look like, and what is achievable for your organization? So saying something like, we want to increase online banking adoption by 15%. Now we have put a measurement on it, and we know it's achievable through targeted marketing campaigns and user-friendly interface enhancements. We're very specific here, and we're going to be time-bound in the next 6 months. So now we can go back in 6 months and look at this data and say, did we achieve that goal? So having these SMART goals is essential. And then the other piece of the analytics puzzle here is defining the data. And I kind of touched on this earlier, but this is where the understanding of where all your data is coming from and how you're collecting it is part of your initial setup. So once we have those SMART goals and we know what we're trying to do, we have to start thinking about where the data that we need to achieve those SMART goals is, and if we're even collecting it. Is it where it needs to be? And so the ideal situation would be to use both structured and unstructured data. You want to use as much data as possible, as much data as you have access to that you can centralize. And so Structured data is going to be information like customer names, age demographics, loan balances, interest rates for different types of accounts. This is all information that can be organized. It's easily organized into tables or into databases. It's much more accessible from one location. Unstructured data is a little bit tougher. It doesn't really fit into a standard database, and it's not relatable to any other data easily. So unstructured data exists in places like Word documents, email chains, notes, online reviews, Facebook posts, tweets. All of those are examples of unstructured data. When you recognize what your SMART goals are and you start to think about what you're collecting, the next thing you need to consider is how you're going to centralize all that information. You're going to get really annoyed with me because I'm going to say centralize a lot, but that is a key component of this as well. Centralizing the data so you can have a comprehensive view of what you're working with and understand how you're going to apply that to the analytics is a key point here. So if you're going through this, I would call it kind of a data audit, and you start to realize, hey, this is how we're currently collecting the data. Is this going to track with how we see the business growing? Is this going to track with how we anticipate our analytics process is going to go? And if it's not, you need to start thinking about different data collection processes evolving with these analytic processes. And it's not going to happen overnight. There might be some things you need to change up front to kickstart the analytics, but that's why you do this, right? That's why you start looking at your data. And if you don't have the data already, you realize you're missing something, you need to start thinking about how you're going to start capturing it. So in summation here, first thing we're going to do, we're going to prioritize our focus. Where is this data and analytics strategy going to have the greatest impact? And initially you might say everywhere. Like, yes, that would be fantastic, but you have to start somewhere. So start thinking about, what is our biggest concern right now? What is the number one thing that we want to solve with our analytics? Maybe our upsell, cross-sell is a mess. Maybe we're concerned about our risk management process. Whatever that might be, you want to start prioritizing that list. Then you want to take that list and you want to define the SMART goals and the data you're going to need for each of those priorities in relation to the type of data, structured or unstructured, whether you're collecting it, where it's being stored. Start thinking about how the data is going to feed into that process. Validating the data for accuracy, super important. Banks are going to have to ensure that their human resources and their digital tools are working together to extract and manipulate all that essential data to really build out these meaningful analytics that you're going to need for each data type. And there's that word again, centralize. We need to centralize it. We need a system to combine all that data in one location for analysis. So some tips for success: start small. So if you have priority number one, start working on priority number one. Figure out what's working with that. Figure out what's not working with that. And then continue to tweak and tweak and tweak. Build a data ecosystem using both your internal and your external sources. Centralize, coming at you again. Fuel the analytics using a full scope of your customer data. And this is only one area where a no-code CRM can assist you. I'll explain later, and you'll see in Megan's presentation as well. Centralizing the data is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you're going to be using the no-code CRM for. But basically, at a base level, the no-code CRM is at least giving you an access point to pull all your data sets from across every point of contact into one comprehensive view. And then it's going to have tools to enable you to do more with that, which is what we'll explain in a little bit. Letting your consultant guide you on how your software systems are going to support what you're trying to accomplish. That's another huge one. I don't think we want to overlook it. I was talking with one of our customers a few weeks ago, after he had finished a project with our team, and I asked him, I said, what do you think was the biggest value that our team brought to the project that you were working on? And he said, it was kind of two things. We had a really big idea at one point that we got excited about. We brought it to the team. We talked about how we wanted to approach it, how we thought we wanted to approach it. And after going through it with us, the tech advisors crew laid it out and they said, you know what? We would actually advise you to go about it this way, and here's why. And it made us think of it in a way that we hadn't before. We didn't know that we could use our software that way, and it made the process so much more efficient. And it made less work for us because we worked over it with our consultant. And then he said in the midst of that conversation as well, we started to brainstorm this other seed of an idea. And your team was able to plant that seed with us and help us turn that small seed of an idea into a really big idea and guide us through how to do that as well. So it actually was a twofold net positive for us, because we were able to strategize two things in a more efficient way than if we had just done the one thing and done it on our own. We love hearing stories like that from our customers because that means that we're doing our job by bringing our expertise into the conversation and guiding them, and that we're helping them have the best outcomes. So I really think it's always important to tie in your consultant with whatever you're trying to do and get their take on it and see if they have any creative ideas. So where does no-code CRM come into this picture? I mentioned a little earlier, it's going to centralize your data, but how is it going to help you grow your business faster? Well, there's a lot of ways that it can accelerate your analytics, but here's some of the top highlights. It's going to help you with predictive scoring, next best offer recommendations, centralizing, I know you hate to see it, data integration to centralize your analytics strategy in one place. And then if you have a BI tool that you want to tie in and really dig super deep into that analytical analysis, you have the capability to do that with the no-code. So we've been seeing our banking and credit union customers having a lot of success with no-code leader Creatio CRM. And so that's why we wanted to specifically highlight Creatio today. Creatio's analysts recognized they're in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, the Forrester Financial Services CRM, for Salesforce automation, Nucleus Research Value Matrix for the past 6 years. They're a BPM market leader in G2 for digital process automation and no-code development. BPM, if you don't know what that means, just means business process management. So they are seen as the leader in this space, and for good reason. They're seasoned in the banking sector. Their platform is extremely dynamic. And yes, is it going to support all the analytics capabilities that I talked about on the last slide? Absolutely. But it's much more than that. And it's much more than centralizing your data. It's also going to help you with loan application management, loan origination and servicing, approval and verification. You got case management capabilities, NPS and customer feedback. There's some unstructured data that you might want to start collecting, and you're going to need a spot to put it in and have it be centralized and glean analytics from it. So there's a lot of use cases for how you would apply no-code CRM like Creatio to get all these positive benefits. I wanted to touch on a recent success story that we've had with one of our customers, and there's a lot to their story. So what I'm going to do is include their full success story in the follow-up to this webinar. I'm also going to include, we did a panel interview with Cornerstone and 2 of our credit union customers a couple months ago, and they talked through the whole process of what it was like for them with a no-code CRM. They talked about, you know, why they started working with Creatio, what the challenges were that they faced, how they got their teams to adopt it and use it on a daily basis, the types of problems that they were able to overcome. And it was just a really interesting conversation. So I'll include that in the follow-up to this, as well as Cornerstone's full story. But the summary here is, you know, they're out of central Massachusetts. They're a community bank. They've got 10 branches, and they had some big issues. They couldn't track important data. They had every department and every branch just doing their own thing. So there was no cohesive approach. Their core banking system, they recognized, okay, we need it, but it's really not user-friendly. It's very challenging to work with, and our teams don't like using it. So we don't know how to use the data from that effectively, you know, the current way we're doing things. Their customer experience was a mess, and they really were disappointed in their referral management strategy. So by implementing Creatio, they were able to build that seamless customer experience across the branches by getting everyone on the same page in terms of how they did things. They automated and personalized the referral management, so it was way more effective. And then they centralized their customer data hub for analytics and reporting. They brought that core banking information into Creatio, and then they were able to get a deeper perspective on all their customers and report on that and learn from it. They've got automated notifications and workflows to align their teams. And after they started getting all this new data and recognizing how much information they were actually working with, they decided to kick it up a notch and said, you know what, we want to add marketing features as well, because we want the ability to make these really personalized and complex campaigns where we can proactively reach out to people when we know it's the right time to reach out to them. So they're a really great success story, and it's working very well for them. So where do we come into this picture? We, as a software consultant, we help you create a strategic plan, listening to what your business's needs are and what your goals are. And we start to formulate the practical approach to how to get you there. We're going to manage the project from start to finish, configure the system to any specific needs that your institution has, clean and migrate your data. Nobody wants to do it, but as I said, if you don't have good data, your analytics aren't going to be good either. So we must do that. We'll integrate with the core. We integrate with data warehouses, literally anything that you need. You want to integrate your social media data into there, what have you, we can do it. We train the teams. We're your personal support. So you'll get to know our support team. And then we advise on other strategic investments and initiatives, kind of like that story I was telling you about earlier with our customer I was talking to. We advise them on the next thing that they wanted to do. And that's where that continued relationship is really a benefit to you, or where we want it to be a benefit to you. We want to be able to bring that value to you throughout the entirety of our relationship. So shameless self-promotion, we get financial services. This is just a smattering of some of our credit union and banking customers. We are also active members of the Community Bankers Association and the Illinois Bankers Association. If you guys are, I don't know if anyone on this call is in the Illinois Bankers Association, but they've got a conference coming up on March 7th. We will be there. Please come visit us. I'm particularly proud of our lint rollers and our glasses cleansing cloths, because let me tell you, these things are high quality. I'm very pleased. I didn't know that I could get so excited about a glasses cleaning cloth, but here I am. So come by, get yourself a cloth, talk to Molly. We'd love to meet you. Okay, so you probably want to see what this actually looks like and how Creatio is going to actually help with your analytics strategy. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to hand the floor over to Megan, who is going to show us the practical applications of what this looks like.
All right, Deneen, I just need you to stop sharing your screen so I can share mine. And we can go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be focusing on 3 different points in my demonstration here about how Creatio no code can help with your analytics needs and projects. I'm going to start with just a little bit of an intro to Creatio and how you can build out a customer 360 view in Creatio. And then I'm going to focus in on 2 different analytics goals using some of the examples that Deneen shared earlier. So I'll be talking about specifically online banking analytics and loan application approval analytics. But before we do that, let's go ahead and pull up Creatio. And I am logged into a demonstration environment. This is my fictional Bank of Megan. And so I'm logged in right now as kind of a super user who has access to everything just for flexibility for demonstration purposes. Most users are typically going to have a little bit more limited access, largely so that you can help them focus in on the things that they need. So I've got like a million things over here on the left side of my screen. Most of your users are going to work in what we call a workplace that's going to be more focused for their needs. So they're not distracted by all of the other features and functions available in the application that they don't need. And so I'm looking right now at my homepage. This is typically where a user would start their day and kind of come back to during the day as they're working. And this is one of the really flexible no-code components within Creatio. A little bit later on, I'll show you how you can actually modify this yourself. And so there's a couple of different things that people tend to use the homepage for. Number one is just tell me what I need to get done today. So what is on my to-do list? What activities have been logged for me to complete today? Whether those are things that I put in for myself as a reminder or someone else put in for me, or even the system automatically generated for me as a task, as a reminder to call somebody or reach out through email, whatever that mechanism might be or that action might be that I need to take. And so I've got just a list here of my tasks that I need to do and some highlights over here on the side. These are all drillable as well, so I can click in and see what is this one task that I still need to get done today, and see some of the information there. Depending on my role at the bank, I might also be managing different types of service requests that are getting routed to me. So I might have some cases that are assigned to me. And again, I could just have a list of those here, whether those are assigned to me individually or my department as a team, however we're doing that queuing and routing, I'm going to be able to access and view that data from here. Or maybe I'm more on the sales side and I'm receiving referrals. So I might have on my to-do list or on another tab like I do here, what are the leads that I'm working right now? What stage are they at? What do I need to do to keep those moving forward to turn those into customers or additional products for my existing customers? Another thing people will use their homepage for is tracking key metrics that they want to keep an eye on. So if I am generating referrals, a lot of times I'm probably being compensated for that with some sort of spiff or bonus. So I want to know what's happening with these referrals that I've generated. Where are they at? Am I getting more referrals for one type of product over another? Where am I doing well? Where am I maybe lagging behind? And so being able to keep an eye on those key stats that I care about as a user, or if I was instead a manager, being able to look at my team. How is my team performing? Who's doing well? Who's meeting their goals? Who's not? And making that data really easily accessible to me. So again, depending on what my role is, what my needs are, this homepage is going to be targeted to those needs to help me find the things that I need most. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one task that I need to do today. So I need to call Madison and check in on some pending applications that she has. From here, I'm going to go ahead and click into Madison to kind of get a bigger picture of what's going on with Madison. What is her relationship to me and to our bank? So from here, I can see a lot of different information about Madison and some of the key facts about her relationship with us. Again, this page is extremely flexible. As Deneen mentioned, part of our process in working with our banking and credit union customers is helping them configure the system to match their business goals, match their needs. But generally speaking, our customers are looking for that Customer 360 or Member 360 view. They want to know all of the key data points about their customers with as few clicks and as little, kind of digging as possible. So thinking about what it is that you want to highlight and prioritize, putting those data points front and center, making those easy to find for your users when they're getting ready to, in this case, call somebody or interact with them at a branch, receiving a call from them at the call center, again, whatever that role, that use case might be. Oftentimes it is very important, or I'd say we're not even oftentimes, always, it's critically important that we are connected with your core banking system, that we're pulling that data in so that users can see what products and services a customer has. Perhaps doing a two-way push where certain types of transactions or actions can also be triggered from Creatio back to your core. If that's something that your bank is comfortable with. I've seen banks on both sides of that fence for sure. And then, being able to see, different points of engagement with this particular customer. What products and services are they using? Do we have any active leads? In this case, we do. Madison's looking at a mortgage right now, it looks like. What applications does Madison have in progress? I can see a little bit more detail here, and I could click in to get further information on any of these data points as well. So again, just the idea here really that I wanted to highlight is being able to pull all of that data together, make that easily accessible to your users, and helping them find the things that they care about the most, or that you want them to care about the most, as quickly and easily as possible. So continuing on, the next thing we're going to talk about then is online banking analytics. And I'm going to specifically go back to the example SMART goal that Deneen shared earlier. So let's say our goal was to increase online banking adoption by 15% through some targeted marketing campaigns and user-friendly interface enhancements in the next 6 months. If we as a bank have agreed that's one of our primary goals right now, how are we going to measure our success? How are we going to know if the actions that we're taking are working? Well, obviously, again, we're going to need some data to back this up. So as Deneen said, one of the first things you're going to want to do is take a look at what data do you have? Do we know right now how many of our customers are using online banking? What do we actually mean, by the way, by online banking adoption? Is that signing up for online banking, or is it more about frequency of use? If someone signed up for online banking but hasn't logged in a year, does that count in what we're trying to measure here, or is that a no in what we're trying to measure here? So getting really specific, really targeted in what we're thinking about and what we're looking at. And then we need to bring that data together. So in my demo site, I've got just a couple of data points in here as an example. Is this particular customer using online banking? If they are, when did they sign up? When did they last log in? And I can take that data then and start to aggregate that together back on my homepage so that I can start to look at those trends and those stats that we need to understand if what the actions we're taking are working. So that might be something super high level, something really simple like this, which is just what percentage of customers are signed up for online banking. Obviously, we probably want to track that over time. Or again, if we're looking at frequency of login, we've got some customers who haven't logged in almost 2 years here. Maybe we need to do some outreach to those customers to understand why they've stopped logging into online banking. Are they still actively using that account? If they are they having issues logging in? Maybe they forgot their password and they're getting stuck in the password reset process, and they've just kind of thrown up their hands and given up. And all we need to do is, give them a quick overview of how to get through that password reset, and they'll be all set and happy and ready to start using the system again. So this could become a calling list or an email list that you're going to reach out to these customers. And again, all of this data is drillable as well. So if I want to know, like, who are these people, I can click in directly from here and take a closer look at any of these data points. I'm also, of course, going to want to start tracking change over time. So if my goal was new online banking signups, I'm going to want to track how many online banking signups we're getting and maybe where they're coming from, whether that's which branch or which team or department or which particular user. whatever I'm trying to focus on there. Again, you know, what are my targeted efforts? Where am I taking those efforts? I need to tie back this data that I'm analyzing, my dashboards, my data views, back to how I'm approaching this goal and thinking again about the data that we need in order to understand if we're having success or not. We can also be looking at, I didn't put it on this dashboard, but you know, if we're doing marketing campaigns, which we probably are, we can be looking at different stats about those marketing campaigns. This might be something you're doing directly through your CRM. Creatio does have a marketing automation platform built in, or it might be something you're doing outside and again, trying to pull that data in to a central location for reporting. Whatever the case might be, being able to take a look at that and saying, okay, you know, we're emailing people, we're texting them, we're calling them. What are the outcomes of that? How many of the people that we've emailed have signed up? How are we doing some A/B testing of one email versus another to see what the differences look like? Who's clicking on what links or buttons in the emails? All of that data is going to also feed into that picture that you're trying to paint to understand what's working and what's not so that you can hone in and continue to do more of the successful efforts and less of the things that are not having any impact on reaching your goal. You might also want to think about how your branch staff or your call center staff can be tied into this goal. So that again could be scheduling some automated emails or activities, touch points for them to reach out to customers who aren't signed up for online banking or haven't logged in recently. It might be just making an alert right on the screen for them. Actually, it was slow to load here the first time, so we'll see what happens this time. But I put in just, you know, if this was my primary bank goal right now, we want to focus on online banking as a business. That's where we've decided we're going to focus. Then let's, what happened here? The joys of a live demo. Then let's focus in on that. And let's make sure that we're making it really obvious to our users if they're talking to somebody or interacting with somebody at the branch that doesn't use online banking. Let's, like, big red flashing sign, let's put that in their face so that they can have a conversation with the customer about that. You know, did you know we have online banking? Here's some of the great things we can tell you about it. Would you like some help signing up? And helping them through that process to make that as easy for them as possible. Here it comes. So you can see actually it's loading temporarily there while the screen was loading, but it's disappearing because Madison is signed up for online banking. This would typically be a locked field, but for the purposes of this demo, I left it open for exactly that reason. So we can just, you know, have that simple on-screen prompt wherever we want to put it. I put it at the top of the screen. I used, you know, some orangish color to kind of draw attention to it. But again, that's super flexible, super easy to set up however you would want to choose to present that to your users. All right, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk about the third point here. So switching gears, leaving behind online banking, instead, new goal, new focus, new priority. In this scenario, our goal is to optimize operational efficiency by streamlining loan approval processes, resulting in a 15% decrease in the time taken for loan disbursements within the next quarter. All right, again, if this is our goal, we're going to have to dig into that and decide where are we going to focus? There's a lot of different steps of the loan approval process. Are we trying to decrease all of the steps by 15%? Are we focusing in on one particular step that we think is a big part of the problem and just trying to get that particular step decreased for an overall 15% decrease? And we might need to, again, start by looking at some data to even make some of those decisions. Where should we focus? So with Creatio, you can either manage applications directly in Creatio, or more frequently, we see our customers using an LOS system and then integrating that into Creatio. So within our applications, we can track, you know, what are the steps that this application has gone through, and how long has it spent in each of those different stages. And so we can take that data then, and again, bring that together onto a dashboard or a homepage somewhere. to talk about or to look at really our loan approval timelines. So I chose to focus in on 3 different steps or stages in the process here. So how long does it take us to validate that we've gotten all of the documents and data that we need from a customer after they've submitted everything to us? How long does the underwriting stage take? And then once underwriting has made a decision and pushed it back to the loan operator to reach back out to the customer and inform them of the decision and talk about next steps, how long does that particular process take? And so we can look at what is our average time spent in each of those 3 different stages. We can look at that over time and look for trends. How long, where is it going up? Where is it going down? What were we doing differently? So we had this big drop here between October and November in our decision stage. What was different there? Was our loan volume different, where our team was just less busy and they were able to get to things faster? Did we onboard a couple of new employees, grow our team in order to, again, help with loan volume and the number of applications each person is trying to manage? Maybe we changed something in our process to make that easier. We added automations to make that easier. So, being able to look at what happened over time and then try to tie that back into what were we doing at that moment in time. And then obviously moving forward, you want to do the same thing. We're going to try changing X. Let's do that for 4 weeks or 6 weeks and let's see what happens. What does that do to our average time in that particular stage of the process? And I do want to show you how easy it is to build some of these things out. So I'm going to use this one as my example. I focused in on just 3 stages here, but there's other stages in the process too, like how long it takes our customers to get us all of the data and documents we need. Maybe we want to focus in on that process. And so we need to start updating this dashboard to show that information as well. This is the no-code page designer tool in Creatio that I just switched to here. One of the things I really love about it is it looks exactly like the final product. So you can almost barely tell that I switched tabs here from the page itself to the page designer because it looks exactly the same. And so let's start with this chart. Let's say I want to add into this chart I think I called it data collection or something like that stage. We'll see what we called it in a minute here. We can just edit this chart and we've got these different series of data in here for the different stages. So we can just copy one of these as a starting point. Switch out the stage that this is focused on from data validation to data entry. And then we want to update what this is called on our chart and what color it is so we can tell the difference. So we'll change the label here and pick a new color. We don't have anything like pink in here. Let's put a pink in. And that's it. That's how easy it is to change that chart and put a new data series in there. So just like that, we can now look at our data entry stage as well. If we want one of these nice little big box averages as well to make that more obvious, we can copy one of our existing ones here and just go in and change the settings. Instead of looking at the data validation stage, we're going to look at the data entry stage. So again, super easy. We're just going to change out that filter, rename it so we can tell the difference. Maybe give it another color again. I'll go pink so that it matches the chart. And then maybe I want to do some rearranging, like maybe I want to switch this into a 4-column layout instead of a 3-column layout so that they're all side by side. I can drop that in here. I'd like it to be in this box. There it goes. Okay. And then move these guys into those smaller boxes. So, again, this is all drag and drop, as you can see. Really easy to move things around, rebuild them to whatever. Actually, I want data entry first anyways, now that I see it. So we'll go ahead and go like that. I should probably mention here, I'm just working in my demo environment, in kind of the live site here at this point. In a typical, real world scenario, we would be building these dashboards out in a test site validating them, and then pushing them out to production site, not, changing them live in the system like this. But I just wanted to, again, give you a feel for how quick and easy this is. That's simple. I've now added the data entry stage into my analytics. I can save this, and in the interest of time, I probably won't actually then go refresh my page, but if I did, it would be there. So again, super easy. With the one caveat of, as long as you're already capturing that data. I already had that data in my database. I was capturing it for that stage. I just wasn't looking at it before. If I wasn't already capturing that data, it would obviously take some more work because I'd have to start capturing that data first. Excuse me. We focus on just those 3 use cases here. There are obviously a lot of other ways that Curatio and other no-code platforms can help you apply analytics, whether that's predictive and behavioral analytics, identifying pain points, fueling cross-sell and upsell, looking for insights across departments, looking at automation, duplicating what works. Again, all sorts of different ways that you can apply these tools to meet your primary goals, whatever those primary goals might be. Deneen, I'm going to throw it back to you for wrapping up.
Thank you. So thanks, Megan, for showing us the practical applications of everything that I laid out. It's great to see it in action and to see it visually. I don't know about you, but I'm a visual person. So seeing it really made it real and brought forth the understanding of what the analytics approach actually meant. So that was fantastic. Megan and my contact information is below here if you want to reach out to us, if you want to learn more about applying no-code analytics, what that would entail. We do free consultations where we can meet with your bank and go over what your goals are and see how we can help. But meanwhile, I also want to mention that in April, we're going to have another webinar, and this is going to discuss the critical steps for successful CRM selection for financial institutions. There is a time-tested way to go about this that's going to ensure that you're making the best choice for your organization. Because as you've probably seen, there are thousands and thousands of softwares on the market. It's very, very overwhelming to try and narrow down what your organization is going to need. And if you follow this strategic approach and these key factors that we're going to explain to you in that webinar, you're going to have a much, much easier time with it. And you're going to, in the long term, have greater success. So the registration information is here on the screen. But again, in the follow-up, I'm going to include the Cornerstone success story. I'm going to include the panel interview of our bank and credit union customers so you can hear about their experiences. And then I'm also going to include the link to the landing page for this so that you can check it out and learn more, and hopefully we'll see you there. I appreciate I'm sorry, I'm missing, there's a couple questions here. I don't want to bypass you. If anybody else has questions, feel free to pop those in right now. I almost went past that, apologies. Megan, I'm going to field these to you. So this first question is asking, how do you advise we should be thinking about integrating our other data sources?
Yeah, I think for most banks and credit unions, that's probably the number one concern, the number one challenge that they face in both a CRM project as well as an analytics project. Your data is in a lot of different systems. And in order to do analytics and in order to do a customer 360 view, both of those require bringing all of those different data sources together. I think the main way that I would advise to approach it is actually pretty similar, which is to think about your priorities and to iterate. So don't try to integrate everything on day one. Start with your core and maybe 1 or 2 other platforms at most. Get those into the system first, and then layer in the additional systems over time.
Great.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Deneen.
Oh, were you done? I've got it. There's another question.
Okay. Yeah, we can take the other question then.
We're interested in this, but we don't know where to start. is that seems like something you can help with, question mark?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, depending on your timeline, if you're just getting started and not in any big rush, that what April webinar is exactly about that topic. But I don't want you to feel like you have to wait until April if you're looking to start sooner than that. So reach out to us and we can definitely have a conversation with you. Excuse me. We can definitely have a conversation with you about how to approach a analytics project and or how to approach a CRM project. And what are the things that you need to be thinking about as you get started down that path so that you can ultimately be successful.
Okay, and then looks like there's just one more question here, unless, and don't let me double check, I'm not missing. Okay, one more question. We've never worked with no code. How accessible will it be for our teams to adopt?
I mean, the great thing about no code is it's super easy. You saw me using it there. It's drag and drop. Obviously, like any tool, there's some ins and outs to learn. But it's very approachable. Creatio has some great resources on their website about their product in particular for training classes, documentation, things like that. They also have I believe it's still free, book called shoot, what is it called? No code something or other.
No
Blanking
code
on
playbook?
no code playbook, thank you.
Yeah.
And what's really great about the no code playbook is it's not actually about the Creatio product. It's about how to deploy no code technologies. What are the processes that you need to have in place if you are deploying any no code solutions within your bank?
That reminds me, Megan, if that is still free, guys, I'll throw that in the follow-up email too for you, so you don't have to go searching for it.
Good idea, Deneen.
All right, if there aren't any other questions, we'll give you back a few minutes of your day. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you think of anything, I will be emailing you the follow-up, so you can either simply reply to that email if you have questions or you want to talk with our team, or you can reach out to Megan or I directly, and we'll be happy to help you. I hope that we will see you in April as well. And as I mentioned, if anyone here is in the Illinois Bankers Association, we'll be seeing you in just a week at the conference. So everybody have a great rest of your week, and thanks.